This is you. Your team has been sitting at the top of the Premier League since the very first weeks. That 10-point lead is now down to 2, and a slip could come at any moment. You haven't won the league in 23 years. 5 times you had the title virtually secured, and 5 times you collapsed in the final weeks. No Champions League trophy, no Europa League trophy. And if you're saying, we're leading the league, we're in the Champions League final, don't get too comfortable. Because with this club, you never know what's coming. And that club is, of course, Arsenal. I'm sorry, but the wheelchair analogy describes Arsenal perfectly. Today we're telling the story of this club's losing history. Don't forget to write which Premier League team you support in the comments after subscribing. Before the 2002 season began, you'd want to be a player at Arsenal. The club had just won the double the previous year, and everyone expected the trophy to stay at Highbury once again. The squad had Thierry Henry, Dennis Bergkamp, Robert Pires, absolute legends. If you were a player at that club back then, you'd probably feel completely invisible among those stars. Manager Arsène Wenger was looking to improve on his previous Champions League failures. The team's backbone Tony Adams had retired, and French midfielder Patrick Vieira had been handed the captain's armband. In September, Arsenal didn't just beat Leeds United 4-1. They broke the record for scoring in 47 consecutive matches and went 22 away games without a defeat. The team was dominating the league. They entered 2003 at the top of the table and by March had opened up an 8-point gap over their closest rivals Manchester United. The title looked like it was heading to Highbury. Then April arrived, and everything fell apart, as it so often does. Points dropped against Leeds, against Aston Villa, against Bolton. 3 teams sitting 15th, 16th, and 17th in the table. 9 matches later, the picture had completely changed. They were 5 points behind United and the title was gone. The same squad that would go unbeaten champions just 1 year later got tripped up by relegation candidates and threw away the title. Let's go back to the 2002-03 squad. If you could have been any player in that team, you'd probably want to be Thierry Henry. The star scored 32 goals in 55 matches and won the hearts of Arsenal fans despite the title being thrown away. But surprisingly, the team didn't finish the season as complete losers. Robert Pires scored the only goal in the FA Cup final to beat Southampton. However, this season would go down in history as just the beginning of a long losing career. If you think I'm waiting for you to say that, you're wrong. Because just 2 seasons later, Arsenal completed the entire league campaign unbeaten and won the title. So Arsenal wasn't always the club we know today. Now let's jump to 2007. Remember when I said if you were at Arsenal in 2003, you'd want to be Thierry Henry? Forget that. Because in 2007, Arsenal made the baffling decision to sell Henry to Barcelona for just £16 million. His reason for leaving was telling. The departure of club chairman David Dane and uncertainty over Wenger's future had worn him down. Henry wasn't just leaving the club, he was pointing to the rot within it. Then Ljungberg went to West Ham, Reyes to Atletico Madrid. The squad was seriously falling apart. Meanwhile, Wenger wasn't sitting still. Eduardo arrived from Dinamo Zagreb, Bakary Sagna from Angers, and at the last minute, Lassana Diarra from Chelsea. But the Diarra story was a classic Arsenal moment. He was shipped off to Portsmouth in January because he wasn't getting enough game time. On his way out, he said, "I read that the club wanted to keep me, but if you want to keep someone, you play them." That didn't happen. A player signed in the transfer window was walking out the door in the same season. Yet despite all of this, the season started brilliantly. Arsenal went top in September, pulled further ahead of United and Chelsea in November. Even Pelé said, "Arsenal are my favourites right now." 5 points clear in December, 6 in January, 8 in February. Nobody could stop them. But this was Arsenal being Arsenal. Start the season well, collapse in April and May, and the breaking point came in the Birmingham City match. Martin Taylor's horrific foul on Eduardo split Arsenal's season in 2. Eduardo's season was over, but what really ended was the team's mentality. I remember every outlet that day writing the same thing. Captain Gallas didn't even make it to the dressing room. He sat alone on the pitch. punching the advertising board. The team completely fell apart. In the weeks that followed, a draw with Wigan, a draw with Middlesbrough, a draw with Aston Villa, 4 points from 4 matches. United moved to the top, Chelsea went second, Arsenal dropped to third, then a defeat to Chelsea in March, a defeat to United at Old Trafford in April. The title was gone. But of course, this is Arsenal. Their tradition isn't just losing the title, it's breaking records while doing it. In 2008, they reached 83 points, the highest ever accumulated by a third-place team in Premier League history. No title, no cup, but at least they made the history books, just not the ones that matter. If you wanted to be a player in that squad, you'd probably choose to be Heleb, Fabregas, Rosicky, Van Persie, or Adebayor. They played so well that season that the fans saluted them with great respect. But the one player you would definitely not want to be during that era was Gallas. He genuinely ruined the season and tore the team apart. In my opinion, this squad was the best Arsenal had fielded since the Invincibles, because they finished the league just 4 points behind a Ronaldo-led, European champion Manchester United. The dark days for Arsenal were about to begin after this season, including a painful trophy drought that would last all the way until 2014. I want you to guess the season I'm about to describe. I'll describe you as a footballer, which is also the topic of this video. You shattered Arsenal's transfer record by signing for £42 million, breaking the previous record by a massive £27 million margin. You were a complete assist machine. You had a unique way of striking the ball, and back then, you were also one of the players who assisted Cristiano Ronaldo the most. Of course, you are Mesut Özil, and the season I'm talking about is the 2013-14 season of Arsenal FC. Arsenal entered this season with genuine title hopes. They were hardly in a position to be dreaming of anything less. But guess what happened? Arsenal lost their very first league match 3-1 to Aston Villa. Despite that, they went on to make a strong start to the league campaign. In September, Arsenal faced Tottenham, and Giroud's solitary goal sealed the victory, ending Tottenham's unbeaten run. It was right after that match that you were signed for £42 million. You instantly became the hope of every Arsenal supporter. When you arrived, the team was somehow surviving, just about getting by. Giroud's 4 goals had brought 4 consecutive victories. You made your first appearance that season and registered your first assist in the Sunderland match. You shaped the team completely and got the system working, so much so that between September 22nd and February 7th, Arsenal spent all but 5 days at the top of the table. No other team stayed at the summit as long as Arsenal did that season. Ramsey was at the peak of his form. Özil was making the difference. It truly felt like the title was heading to Highbury. But of course, the turning point of the league was approaching. March arrived. Arsenal lost 1-0 to Stoke, with a penalty in the 76th minute. Wenger publicly stated that the team's finishing had been far too selfish. Arsenal had won only one of their last 4 league matches, and had slipped down to 3rd place as a result. Now let's speed things up and talk modern football. We're heading to the 2023-2024 season. Arsenal entered that season as genuine title contenders, and their transfer policy reflected exactly that. Rice for £100 million, Havertz for £62 million, Timber for £38 million. The club had made it clear once again that they were serious about the title race. Arsenal were equally impressive on the pitch. Some of the records they broke that season speak for themselves. Fewest goals conceded with 29, lowest expected goals against, fewest shots on target faced, and many more remarkable statistics, but something broke during the winter period. They lost at home to West Ham and drew away at Fulham. With the new year, they got back on their feet, and from January until the end of the season, they lost just once in 17 matches. But that one defeat hit incredibly hard. April 14th, Aston Villa came to the Emirates. Goals from Leon Bailey and Ollie Watkins sent Arsenal to a 2-0 defeat. Arsenal dropped to 2nd place and never recovered. They went on to win 7 consecutive matches after that, but City didn't make a single mistake. Liverpool's pressure eased as well, and in the end, City lifted the title with 91 points, finishing just 2 points ahead of Arsenal. Does this scenario sound familiar? See you in the next video. Share your video ideas in the comments.